Welcome back to Etheria Restart. Today I'm here to talk about two new light dark animus that are dropping inside of the game. I'm talking about Hazuki Mara and Plume. All of that is going to be going on inside of this video, and I brought with me my very good friend Hermes, who is going to break down our strategy on his end on my account, where we're going to be focusing in on, which animus we're going to be going for, if any, if both, or maybe just one of them, and what our plans are for all of that, all while breaking down their skills, their kits, etc., etc. If you guys didn't know, I'm sponsored by Etheria Restart. I appreciate that. And if you've never played the game, you get 10 free summons just from scanning my QR code or my link in the description. Now, Hermes, I'm just watching the trailer right now of Hazuki, but let's start talking about some of these animus. I know you wanted to start out with talking about Hazuki and where you found her value. So let's take a look at her kit. I got it popped up on the screen right now, and we can kind of see what her skills are going to be able to do, where she's going to be able to be effective, and what the plan is then for her or for either one of them on our account.
Yeah, so I think she is a very, very interesting animus, and I think that she is going to really shake up PvP a lot. Obviously, a lot of the stuff that they do in these previews of the animus, they're always in PvE, but I think really she is going to be a PvP, possibly meta changer, because of her passive ability. So when you go through her kit, her A1 Shadow Return, it deals damage to a single enemy and has a chance to apply a turn meter down.
Right.
I think it's going to be really interesting when we actually get in game and we're able to see this ability in action, how much turn meter she's dropping. Because obviously, if she's dropping like 100%, granted, she wouldn't be, but like then that makes like that A1 in of itself OP. But if it's like 15, 20%, that can be game changing. But if it's only like 5 or 10, that's still good, but it's not something to like write home about and that you might not want to invest your lattice in. So that's really one we're gonna have to wait and see when it comes out, see how valuable that ability is really gonna be.
Yeah, that's what we have to do with all of these, right? Like we have the plan up ahead, we look at the kits, but then when you actually take them into real life and play with them on the account, you get to really feel or watch other people feel or look at reviews, etc., to see what our plans are. And as you can see, we're not getting hard numbers from the things right here. What about the S2? What do you like there?
That S2 is what I think is going to change metas or has the a possibility of changing metas
Hmm.
in PvP. And the reason why is, and this is something that I was confused about at first. I'm glad we got more clarification about it as well, is that it has the ability to grant all units in the battle attack up, but reduces their healing received. Additionally, all allies cannot be buffed with increased attack. Why this ability is
Hmm.
so interesting is that the most dominant and predominant meta right now in PvP is the Bruiser meta. And Bruiser meta is basically you're taking in a bunch of tanky enemies. You're going to heal up. You're going to outslash. You're going to put a lot of the gear sets that are really going to help save you. You're going to really increase the healing ability of your team, and then you're basically just going to try to just outlast your opponents, and then that Etherean effect is going to come in, and you're going to be able to take them down with animus like Rahu, like Tiamat, stuff like that, and
Hmm.
really take down your enemy teams that way in longer fights. What she is doing is she is putting out increased attack on all units in the battle, which at first thought you think, oh, that's a terrible thing, but a lot of these sustained tank meta units are either defense based or they're HP based. So you look at Tiamat. Tiamat is her damage is based on HP, so you don't have any reason to build her with attack. Rahu, his damage is based on defense. You don't have any reason to build him with attack because it doesn't affect his damage.
Right.
So her putting out increased attack on these units doesn't do anything. All it does is it reduces their healing. Now the thing for you is that at like your team, you're going to want to then have to come in with a different type of meta, right? You're going to want to have units that will increase that the attack wants to be increased because your healing is going to be reduced. You're going to want to look more of a either control or a probably more so a cleave type team to really take advantage of that skill of that passive ability.
No, but I love that they're doing this. They're bringing in an animus that's basically kicking around the whole metas right now for PvP and forcing people to make different types of teams, which is actually good for the meta overall, in my opinion, giving it more diversity. So I like that with Dual Sphere. I see what we're talking about because I know the questions we had initially. Glad they were clarified. And what do you think about the ultimate, the Burst Tamari?
I think this one's gonna be an interesting one to see. I think I think it'd be really good because again, makes her a control unit, right?
Hmm.
Has two hits to all enemies with a chance to put out petrification as well as resistance down. I think that can be a really interesting ability. Again, control, but then also able to apply more debuffs. So I think she really fits in well, is like I was saying, into a cleave team because she's going to control all the enemies. She's going to give them resistance down. So then you come in with a another unit such as Kloss. You put out some decreased defense, some other damage amplifying debuffs, and then you come in with a nuker like Lilium. Sorry, not Lily. Lilium,
Hmm.
Yeli, Messiah. Anyone like that, and really just go in and nuke that whole team because you've already got that increased attack. You've already got your defense break and they've been controlled. And then you come in and since everyone's healing is reduced, even if you don't one shot the opponent's team, they're not going to be able to heal up as quickly and you're able to get more damage done to a team.
I love it. I love how you broke this down, figured out how this could actually work inside of PvP and obviously PvE as well. Um, so I'm actually excited for Hazuki Mari. It's a little bit more of a complex strategy coming through with this, with how the battles will work, but I like that. I like things being a lot less direct, specifically in PvP. Now, before we dive into Plume, let's take a second and look at my personal account and talk about strategy because these are both light dark units and these could be a little bit more difficult to get. All
Yep.
right, Hermes, so I'm only sitting on 47 right now in my inventory of Apex prototypes. This is how we get ourselves these light dark units with a pity of 80. So at the end of the day, I may not have what I need to get both Hazuki Mari as well as Plume, who we're going to be talking about next in just a few minutes. So we had a couple of strategies that we were kicking around. One is we could pick up one of the Animus right off the bat, be one of the first people to have her and put her to work, whichever that might be, we don't yet know. Or two, kind of sit back, play it safe, and not get any of them, see which one kind of excels, get that one, or we could just wail the hell out and we can get both of them and try them both and play with them both inside of the game. So what do you think right there? I mean, you got a smart play, you got a spendy play. What are you thinking about that? What should players do?
So I think again, it really comes down to your personal account.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're in a position that is not great
Hmm.
because you don't even have 80, right? Like the big goal, you want to have a minimum of 80 of each summon type, and I would recommend that to all players, right? You want to make sure that you have at least 80 both Apex and the regular Anima prototypes, just so that you're able to take care of everything and get a new unit that drops because of the way the pity system works.
Right.
Obviously, when you're talking about Apex prototypes, they're a lot harder to get. You can still get them throughout the game, but again, they're more difficult to get, more difficult to obtain. And that's just really something that you'll be able to work through and work with. And again, that also makes them more expensive. I
Yeah.
think that it would be valuable to wait at least a day or two just to see, again, your position because you don't have that many. Now, if someone was sitting on like 150 of them
Yeah.
and was going, should I whale out and get like the last 30 prototypes and just get them both day one so I can start playing with them right away? I don't think that's a really bad. I don't think that's a bad strategy necessarily. I think they're both going to be really, really solid Animus like dark units that are really going to be good to use. But I don't think that they're worth spending to get them both with your position because of how few you have.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are going to be some people that are going to wail out, right? They're going to wail out. They're going to try to get all the copies of them as well, do all this other stuff, and it's like that's like type of people.
Yeah.
But that's the minority. Most people, I think, you're going to want to wait at least a day or two before you start to spend your Apex prototypes because they're running a dual LD unit banner. If it was like
Yeah.
the dual Anima prototype banner, it'd be a little bit different. I'd be like, nah, just get them day one because it's you get build up those prototypes so fast. But with the Apex, wait, see what's going on, and then I think go from there.
I think that's some really good advice. And yeah, you're right. Dual light darks at the same time can be a very spendy feature that we get into. But again, you don't have to get them. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't have all the light darks inside of the game yet on my personal account myself, and I do spend a little bit inside of the game. All right, let's take a second and then go take a look at Plume. All right, now let's take a look at Plume. I know that you were even a little bit more excited about Plume than you were about Hazuki Mara, which is crazy because Hazuki Mara seems pretty awesome to me. But let's talk about Plume a little bit here. What do you like from the Peacock Lady? Hermes?
So I think that she is just a very much a damage amplifying animus, and I think that is going to be really, really good. I mean, obviously, all damage amplifying animus are always going to be good, right? Because bigger numbers means better overall for you,
Of
right?
course.
But I think all the key parts of her kit are really going to make her not a control unit, but a very good in boosting your damage while also making your team a little more survivable. And that all starts with her A1 ability, which she deals damage to all enemies, which is really interesting. It's an AoE A1 ability, which is always good.
Hmm.
And she applies one stack of Cursed Quill for one turn on all enemies. And that is really good. Again, I'm sure it's going to be at a chance to a certain degree. You're going to have to see if you're going to put lattice into her and how many.
Of
But
course.
that Cursed Quill passive, it increases the damage taken by the target and it applies speed down. Now, then some people might remember this from back in beta testing. Kloss actually had on her in her kit, she had her own version of decreased speed. So basically, you could put out regular decreased speed plus Kloss's version and super decrease your enemy speed. But I don't know if this Cursed Quill will automatically just apply regular decreased speed or if it's its own version of decreased speed. Obviously, it's good either way, but if it is like if it's this animus's own version of decreased speed, that would be a massive, massive ability because you get to further decrease your enemy's speed, which is really big. Obviously, in addition to also boosting the damage of your animus, making the other because your opponents are dealing even are able to have more damage dealt to them. And I think that's a really big ability.
No, it sounds insane, actually. And you're also kind of giving away which animus you're maybe a little bit more excited about here, but that's okay. We'll let everyone know at the very end of the video which one would be your personal choice. All right, let's take a look at that S2, the Quill, which is, you know, kind of all going into the whole Peacock Ladies
Yeah,
theme here.
exactly. And I actually really like this design. I think this is honestly an awesome
Yeah.
design. Again, Etheria Restart always does a great job with all their cosmetics and designs and all that, but I think I really enjoy this one, just like the way in her animations of her abilities as well. But this second skill, the quill, is actually a passive ability. So when an enemy is debuffed, they also will gain an additional stack of cursed quill, and after each enemy unit takes action, grants turn meter increase to all allies. That is a crazy good passive in all, and again, PvE, PvP, wherever it is. Because whenever an enemy is debuffed with any kind of debuffs, they also get an additional stack of Cursed Quill. And that is really good because of how good, potentially broken that
Oh.
Cursed Quill debuff can be. Just because so the reason why I say that and bring that all in is because back when Kloss was in beta, when she had her own decreased speed, it actually got Kloss got nerfed because it was so good. And
Hmm.
so that's why I'm interested to see if the game, because she's an LD unit, because again, Kloss was an RGB unit, if because Plume is an LD unit, if it will give her that additional decreased speed, or if it will be just the regular decreased speed debuff. Either way, it's going to be good. I think it would be a little bit broken if it is its own version of decreased speed.
I love when you talk about broken, man. I love when you talk about something that's that powerful. All right, so that takes us, and I like that that's a passive as well. What do you think about the ultimate, the final flame dance, and the exclusive passive?
Yeah. So this one is actually so again, like I initially looking at these kits, I was like, there's no way this is all like in it, but I'm glad like I'm hoping that it stays the way that it is right now for the player base because of how good I think this can be. And this flame dance deals 3-hit AoE attack onto all enemies, with each hit having a chance to dispel enemy buffs and apply defense break and weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, weakness reduces the damage dealt by the target. So what we're getting on this ability is we're getting an animus that is an LD unit that has on her top ability is 3 chances to dispel buffs,
Mm-hmm.
put decreased defense, and to put out a weakness debuff. So what this does is in any, let's say we're talking PvE content, you go into Aurora. Aurora automatically beginning of battles will get an immunity. Same with Terramatan, immunity as well. What you're doing on those bosses is you're stripping their buffs, you're putting out drop defense to do more damage to them, and you're putting out a weakness debuff that makes it so they deal less damage. which is a big problem in both of those dungeons. And that is really big because additionally, think about it, that's weakness and decreased defense debuffs. Her passive ability, Cursed Quill, can be is applied to enemies when anytime they receive debuffs. So
Hmm.
what you're doing on this S3, you're stripping their buffs, including immunity. You are then applying decreased defense. You're applying Cursed Quill, which also boosts damage and possibly decreased speed. And then you're also putting out weakness, making sure that those enemies don't deal as much damage. This is a crazy good skill.
Wow. When you break it down and put it together like that, it really does make it sound insane. All right, so we went through Plume. We went through, I'm just popping them up on the screen here, Hazuki Mari. I mean, from the sounds of what you were just saying, Plume is someone that you think is going to be more of a game breaker. Not saying that it's actually going to break the game than Hazuki Mari. If you're pulling on day one on your personal account, which one are you pulling?
Plume.
Plume.
I think immediately Plume. And the reason why is because she is viable in both. Okay, they're both viable, I think, in PvE and PvP. The problem with Hazuki Mari in PvE content
Mm-hmm.
is that her passive ability will put increased attack onto all of your enemies. And a
Right.
majority of PvE content is they scale off of increased attack. Or scale off of attack. So when you increase their attack, you're making them deal more damage. Whereas Plume puts out a weakness debuff that makes them deal less damage. And so I think if you're just going to go for one, I think the safe pick, honestly, is to go for Plume. Again, the thing you're going to run into is really comes down to like your play style, right? Your
Yeah.
day one, like when these animes come out, is your play style. Do you really want to focus so much on PvP and you're so tired of the bruiser meta
Yeah.
that you're like, I'm sick and tired of this. I'm gonna pick this animus just so no one picks bruiser against me, or they have to ban this animus. But then the other thing you're going to have to think about with her is that if she changes the meta, that means that her abilities won't be as valuable because not as many people are using bruiser metas. So that's where you kind of have to decide when it comes to Zukimari. Are you willing to take the risk and use her for a week, 2 weeks, or even maybe a couple days before the meta shifts? Or do you want to go with someone that's a little more secure as far as, again, damage boosting,
Mm.
increasing your damage and the damage dealt to your opponents, as well as decreasing the damage they're dealing to you?
I think that's super smart how you broke that down. You basically summarized the video right there. If you want to get fancy and really just kind of mix with the meta, Hazuki Mari is one that's going to do well, specifically for PvP. Because as you mentioned, being able to use it in PvE, a lot of damage is being thrown at you in PvE, and you don't want to boost the damage, especially when it's things that maybe you have less control over. In PvP, you could have all that control with Hazuki Mari, but to play it safe, go with the one that's going to boost your damage in Plume and just go crush people. I think that's basically what you were saying right there, and I have to say, I agree. What people are going to need to do, though, is stay tuned to the channel to see what we decide to do on this channel right here. Are we polling? Are we polling for Plume? Are we polling for both? Are we sitting back and waiting? Hermes, thanks for coming through. I love how you break these down just even more in depth than I think about them and process them in my brain. Helps me make decisions on my personal account, and I know it helps everyone that's watching the videos as well. Again, guys, need to thank Etheria Restart for sponsoring the video, and I think that they're doing some really cool things, bringing new Animus. There's more things to come as well, so make sure you stay tuned to tomorrow's video. Have a great day, guys.